everybody. Thanks for coming and watching this presentation. My name is Dr. Gabrielle Ficchi. I was asked to do this summit because I am an individual with a disability who also works with individuals who have disabilities. I am a counselor by trade, and it's been my life's work and mission to help parents and families whose kids have disabilities to be as empowered and independent as possible. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about that today. And without further ado, I'll bring up my PowerPoint so we can go ahead and get started. Just kind of some facts to get us into the conversation and what this looks like for everybody. So people with disabilities make up the largest minority group in the world. And why do I say that? It's because a lot of times, even though there's so many of us and we are such a big community, we don't tend to realize sort of our power or our effect on the world. And so I think that's really important. There are 95 million children ages 0 to 14 with a disability, and children with disabilities need to understand that they're not as different as they might perceive that they are. This is a community experience and doesn't have to be an isolated experience. And I think that that's really key to empowerment. I myself was born with cerebral palsy, and so I've had my disability since I was born. And I think that's really been a key element to me embracing who I am is finding that community. Parents and children both, we need to find the most effective ways to navigate the experience, to get the help we need. It's not always easy, right? We're not given a handbook when we're given a diagnosis. Most of the time we're given a diagnosis and we're saying good luck. And really, I think what we need to shift our focus to is that each child deserves respect, they deserve dignity and independence and self-pride. So how we frame disability is really crucial to the pride in themselves and feeling more empowered. What's that look like? So I think one of the biggest struggles, whether it's a parent or a provider helping a child or a family member, is that we want to help, we want to provide them with the assistance they need, and then balancing that with being more empowered and having more independence can be really difficult. So they struggle with when to push versus when to sort of give that assistance. And as a result, I think sometimes, whether we intend to or not, the expectations of what our child with a disability can achieve end up being lower. And so I think it's really important to point out that to really be empowered and to be embracing who you are, really going and reaching your full potential and having those high expectations and dreams of what you want to achieve in life and where you want to go are really important, because we all deserve something to work towards. To really illustrate this, I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite independent living principle. We could do a whole nother presentation on the independent living movement, but I think the independent living principle, dignity of risk, really highlights what it means to be empowered as a kid with a disability. So dignity of risk talks about the right to take a chance and the right we have to make decisions and mistakes. We all have a right to fail. And I think sometimes within the disability community, there's this idea that we're setting up so many supports and services so that we avoid failure, whereas I think the focus should be less on avoiding failure and more on how they can be empowered to make those decisions on their own. Are they being given the autonomy to make those decisions? It's so important to have the opportunity to make your own choices and decisions. You have no idea how many families and kids that I've worked with that by the time they get to me, they haven't made small decisions for themselves, let alone bigger ones. So as we age, it becomes more and more difficult to figure out how we're going to do that and what that looks like. So dignity of risk is the idea that the disabled person has that same right to fail. I think the issue there and what that looks like is I hear so many times, oh, their life is already hard enough, right? They have a disability, they have so many things to overcome. Why would I watch and let them fail? rather than just helping them. And so it's like super important that they get the chance to fail. And what that looks like is, if we are to make decisions on our own, those successes should be celebrated and should be ours. So it works both ways. If you fail, you get to learn from those mistakes. And if you succeed, then you get to be the one to sort of relish in that victory and know that you can do things on your own. This is kind of just a reminder. So it's important to learn that if you don't always succeed, it's okay. And I think so many times as individuals with disabilities age, because they don't have the experience with things not always going the way they want them to or the way they need them to, it's really hard to know how to navigate those situations. But in reality, you don't know until you try. So assuming somebody can't do something versus letting them try to do it is kind of one of the biggest barriers we face to really reaching our full potential. So how do we really help empower these kids and help them see a life where they get to achieve their dreams and do what they want? Happiness with a disability versus without. What do I mean when I say that? I think as a disabled individual myself, I've noticed within our community, we have this idea where we just want disabled kids to be happy. But if we were to define that realistically, like we do for everyone, happiness means living a fulfilled and full life. It means doing things and achieving things and having friends and partners and a job that brings you fulfillment and joy and contributing to our society. And that's what it should mean for kids with disabilities as well. Setting those expectations high enough, so really letting them try and letting them figure out for themselves what they can and can't do. And then going back to dignity of risk. So giving them that space to really try and fail and making those efforts just as okay as succeeding. And I want parents out there listening to know that I know that this is difficult. I help people navigate this every day. And so I just wanted to give you guys some resources and some sort of takeaway actions. So seek education and emotional support. This is one of the biggest takeaways I give families for this topic. It's okay to not have all the answers, and it's okay that a lot of this is really difficult. And so it's really important that you're getting support that's directed to you and your family. Learn from the disability community. So seek the knowledge of other disabled professionals, of peer groups. Learn from each other, right? There's no need to reinvent the wheel here. There are lots of disabled people who are really empowered and independent and living lives that they want to live, and asking them how they did it is a really good resource. And then helping your child embrace the disability experience. This is a big one because I think a lot of times inherently parents, family members, professionals are sending the message, even if they don't mean to, that the child should do what they can to overcome or change how their disability affects them. And so they're taught to see success as being less disabled, right? And so if we can change that narrative and say, we don't need to change who you are inherently for you to be successful and happy. And this is actually a community of people that's really awesome, and can bring a lot of joy to your life. And so the focus shifts away from changing who you are to really embracing it. And instead of the disability just being a diagnosis, it being a part of you and your life experience. This is what I always like to say to people is, now that I've lived with this disability my whole life, I'm in my 30s, I really found a community, and I have learned to embrace this to the point where I wouldn't change anything if I was given the choice. And that's sometimes difficult for people to understand, but in reality, this is me. This is who I am. And it's given me a life that I wouldn't have otherwise had. And it's given me a really great life. And so for kids to really be empowered is a really helpful perspective to try to come from that and say, like, having a disability is part of who I am. And so just to end, embracing disability is sort of the key to promoting that independence and being empowered. It gives you that community, it gives you that support, it gives you the confidence, and it really lends itself to you being able to achieve what you want. But again, I know these are a lot of new concepts, so I encourage you guys to reach out. I'm here to help if I can help anyone, and there's a ton of resources out there. So I look forward to connecting with you guys soon. I also encourage all of you to come and visit my booth at the Thrive Summit. It'll be open all weekend for you guys to access. It'll have access to resources and my website so we can connect directly. It'll also detail some services that I offer through the practice that are all geared towards helping individuals with disabilities and their families. It's the first one really of its kind because most of the time these services are not disability specific, and I've made it my mission to bring things to you guys and to the community that are relevant and take our experiences into account. So I look forward to seeing you all there.